Hey, sixth graders. Hoo-ah! 5.5%. We're going to switch gears a little bit, getting away from ratios and kind of moving over to percents. There is a relationship there, and we'll kind of explain that and talk more about that in class. But let's talk about the word percent. Basically, if we translate that straight from Latin, per it basically means out of, and cent means 100. So when we talk about percents, we talk about out of 100. So we can take a percent and turn it into a fraction like that. So if I have 25%, 25 over 100 is a fraction. Boom, we made it a fraction without even hardly doing anything. Okay? We can also simplify that. So I know that 25 is a factor of 100. So if I divide 25 by 25 and I divide 100 by 25, I can reduce that fraction down to 1/4. We can also take a percent and make it simplest form just like we did in our 25% example. If I have 125%, say I have a whole and then I have a fourth of something else, 125% would be 125 over 100, very good. And I would have to reduce that to 5 over 4. 4 goes into 5 one time, 1 and 1/4. I'd have a remainder of 1. Pretty simple stuff, okay? We can also change a fraction to a percent. Now that gets a little tricky if the denominator is a factor of 100. So let's say the denominator's 2, 4, 5, 10, 20, 25, 50, 75. Those numbers, I think I might have forgotten 10 in there if I did. But those numbers, they're very easy to change to a percent because they're factors. So if I multiply, say, 3/4 to try to make it a percent, I want to multiply both by 25 because 4 times 25 is 100, and I've made that denominator 100. 3 times 25 would be 75, so 75 out of 100, 75%, huh? Pretty easy. The same can be done for any other number that's a factor of 100. So 3/10 could be changed to 10 times 10 is 100, 3 times 10 is 30, 30 over 100 is 30%. When the the denominator is not a factor of 100, we can't really multiply, let's say the number's 17, for example. If I have 3/17, I can't change that to a percent by just multiplying because 17 is not a factor of 100. So guess what you get to do? You get to use a calculator. Doesn't that make it a lot easier? You take your numerator 3 on top, divide it by your denominator 17 on bottom, and you get your answer. And off the top of my head, I don't know what that is. It's probably about 15%, somewhere in that range. So, at any rate, that's kind of our start today. One last little note you'll see in the notes. Remember, when we take a percentage and we want to change it to a decimal, it's very simple. 50%, we move the decimal point over 2 places to the left, becomes 0.5 or 5/10. 23% is simply 0.23 or 23/100. Okay? That's really about it. Remember, we can have numbers bigger than 100%, so it's more than 1. So we can have 320%. Okay, so don't be afraid if you get numbers that are larger on top than on bottom. Basically, we're just going to make a mixed number out of that instead of a fraction. I'm signing off. 5.5% right in your table of contents, and I'll be back with our note portion in just a little bit.